Where are you, darling? Okay, he was born in 1892. In here it says in Southern Warwickshire. Mother's always told us he was born in Cardiff, Wales. So I'm not sure. I've got to go and look back in the family tree, see if I can find anything. But I know his family was all from Wales. His mother was Anne Jane Hughes, and he had 4 sisters. No, 3 sisters and 1 brother. Because Daddy was only 42 when he died.
Wow.
Yes, he died on November the 10th in 1935. I was 2.5. Yeah. 2 years and 10 months. What was interesting, Grandma on my maternal side, her name was Jane Ann Harkins when she was, that was her maiden name.
Yeah.
Grandma Sinnott, was Anne Jane Hughes.
Oh, fun.
One was Jane Ann, one was Anne Jane.
Yeah, and both with an H as the last name. Yeah.
And that's who Jane Hammond was named after the 2 grandmas.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Their second name came from.
That's great.
Yeah. Daddy was a captain in the cavalry in the First World War. He was gassed in France.
Oh my.
And that's what caused the tuberculosis that finally killed him.
Wow.
He and Grandma were engaged when he went to war. He was a friend of her brother's. And he was an accountant, I think. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But his father was a draper, which I think is a men's clothier, if I'm not mistaken. That's what a draper was. He owned a drapery shop. And Daddy, when he went to war, when he came back, he had to go in the SAM. And he was in the SAM for a year.
What does that mean? What is that?
The sanatorium for TB.
Oh, okay, sanitarium.
Tuberculosis.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was a bit of a hypochondriac, apparently. So I was told. But when he came out of the war, he went into a SAM for a year. They told him he was cured when he came out. But when we children were born, he never ever kissed us on the mouth, always on the forehead. And he was a captain of the Parks cricket team. And he became a Baptist minister. He was a very religious man, apparently, and had a great belief in his religion. I don't know if you've ever read his obituaries, which I have. They're very interesting. I'll let you read them. They're beautiful. There's, I think, 4 columns in a newspaper about him.
Wow.
And comments by other ministers about what a wonderful speaker he was. And John, your cousin, who went to England this year, he went to the church where Daddy had been the minister, where I was born, in Kidderminster. And his picture, the other ministers have small pictures. His is a huge picture and it dominates all the others.
Wow.
And they still talk about him.
Wow.
And apparently he's highly revered there still as the finest minister they ever had. We left Kidderminster and moved to Bath. And he got hit in the chest with a cricket ball. we were going on holiday, and we went on holiday, and he wasn't well the whole time we were away. But when we came back, he went to bed, and he never got out of bed. He died, I guess, on November the 10th that year. And it was from when the ball hit him in the chest. He died with tuberculosis.
Mm.
And it was very sad for Mother. She raised us 3 girls alone. Not an easy task, because everybody was telling her how to raise us. She didn't like that. She was lonely, which was natural. I can understand it more now, being in the same position, except I'm not with 3 little ones. I had 3 big girls.
Yeah.
But
you remember learning to ride a bicycle, or what kind of sports?
I remember learning to ride a bicycle. I learned to ride a big bicycle because Owen and Patty had not the huge big one, but the one before, like a medium-sized bike. Like there was the little bikes that kids learn on first, then a medium one, and then you get a full-sized bike, an adult bike. I had the medium bike I learned to ride on. And I would go up and down like this, with my hands holding the handlebars like that. But that's how I learned to ride a bike. And then riding the swing, because Mother had a beautiful swing put in the garden. Big cement pad with this lovely big swing on it. And I'd watch Owen and Patty swing, and when it was forward, they would jump off. And I said, oh, this is great, So Mother would put me out in the garden to play. And this one morning, I was 3 years old. And I'm thinking, I get up on the swing. And so I decided to jump off too, but I jumped off when it was back. Hit me in the back of the head and splat on the concrete. I go to the door and my mother comes, and there I am. My whole nose had disappeared. I had these, I must have been a mess. But Uncle Harry wanted to put leeches because I had 2 big bags of congealed blood under my eyes. And Mother said, no, you're not putting leeches on her. And, but they couldn't find my nose to set it. That's why I can still feel the break in it here.
Oh,
They always said the perils of Pauline. That started when I was 3 years old. And then I loved worms, and I would take up a worm and break it into little pieces and say, oh, look, lots of little worms. And my girlfriend, Anne, I put one down her neck, and her mother came to see my mother.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah, because Mrs. Sinnott, Pauline put a worm down Anne's blouse. That wasn't nice at all. Mother said, oh, no, it wasn't. She said, I'll speak to Pauline about that. And Mrs. Seymour said, I hope so. Wasn't very nice at all. So anyway, I was in the bad books with Mrs. Seymour for a long time because I put a worm down Anne's neck. Anne got over it faster than her mother did because she wanted to play with me. Mother, I laugh when I think of it. Mother had given me a little suitcase. It was about, that long and about just little tiny suitcase. And if I misbehaved, Mother would tell me off, you see. And if I told a fib, Mother always knew if I told a fib because I couldn't tell a fib to save my soul. And she would say, go to your room. So I forget what it was I told a fib about, but she said to me, no, you didn't do that. I know what you did. A little bird told me. And I said, I don't like these birds. And she said, I said, how do you know? And she said, well, a little bird told me. And I looked, I said, well, if I catch that little bird, I'm going to kill it. She knew because I couldn't tell a lie. I couldn't look her in the face and tell her a lie. So anyway, this one day I decided I was running away from home. I put my pajamas in this little suitcase, and that was about all it held. Oh, and a pair of knickers. And off I trudged. I think I was about 4. And I marched out the door. And of course, mother's watching me. I didn't know that. And I went around the corner and sat on a cheese stump at the corner. And I thought, you know, about 10 minutes, I think it's a long time for a kid. I came back. And mother said, "Oh, you've come back." "Yes, I decided to forgive you." So mother said, "Oh, really? What had I done?" I said, "You listened to the birds." When I look back on it, she must have had so many laughs over the things I did.
Yeah.
And Alice Baldwin, who was my nanny, and she was a friend of mother's. She lived with us and she looked after us. Our mother was in the store mainly. And I used to say, "I hate you, Lally Baldwin. I hate you," because I lisped. It didn't help matters. And Lally used to say, "Well, I'm sorry you hate me, Pauline, but you've got to do as you're told." "Well, I still hate you, Lally." Her name was Alice Baldwin. I called her Lally. And Lally was with us until, I guess, from when I was about 3, 2.5, or I guess she came after Daddy died, and stayed with us until I was 8, I think, 8 or 9. And then this man's wife died giving birth to his son, and she went to look after the baby. And we kept in touch with her because I adored Lally, really. And I used to go over and play with John, who was a baby then, but he grew up. I kept in touch with Lally until she died a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I wrote to her every Christmas. When we went to England, I went and saw her. Yeah, it was lovely. But Lally was a wonderful person. She was, looking at some of the photographs, I can see where Lally was in them. I think she was at Mum and Dad's wedding. I think I saw her in the wedding picture.
Wow.
But yeah, it was interesting. All my grandparents were dead before I was born. So one of the church families was the Gorfankels. And Granny Gorfankel was the only grandmother I ever had. And I used to go and I would plait her hair. And when she was dying, mother took me to see her. And I plaited her hair, and I bought some mauve, little satin ribbon about 1/4 inch wide. And I did her 2 little plaits and put a bow on the end of each one. And Mrs. Gorfankel said to me afterwards, when we went to visit the next time, she said, "Pauline, Granny went to her grave with your plaits, with your mauve ribbons on, and she loved them."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, thank you, Mrs. Gorfankel." I said, "I love Granny." She said, "I know, and she loved you." She said, "You were the little granddaughter she never had." So it was very sweet.
Yeah.
But that was the only Granny I ever had.
Oh, wow.
So it was sort of nice for me.
Yeah.
And I've never forgotten her. I can remember her lying in bed and she'd let me plait her hair, put the bows on it, you know. And it was, I mean, she was in her 90s then. Yeah, I believed I only sat for that picture so the rabbit would be shown. I didn't want my picture taken. Yeah.
Oh yeah, So tell us about what it was like when you were that small. You were still in England.
I was around 7 when that was taken. But I sat and held the rabbit for the photographer. That's the only way you could get me to sit still. And I was, pulling a face, as you can tell. I was not happy about having to sit for a picture. But Mother was very good. We had those sweaters and we had grey kilts. Well, they were suits actually. It was jacket and skirt that went with them. And we also had blue and grey striped sweaters as well that went with them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mother dressed us very well. And no expense spared. All very good quality.
Yeah.
And that was it. And good Oxford shoes so our feet would be well taken care of. The war in England was an interesting time because, of course, being little, we weren't nervous about it. And the sirens went every night. We all had siren suits. And Uncle Harry, my one uncle, who was very wealthy, built us a air raid shelter in the garden, which we hardly ever used because we were in a strip mall. Mother had a store, a baby linen store, and a wool shop. And the sweet shop at the end of the block had a huge octagonal shaped air raid shelter. And in it, he stored all his sweeties. And he always used to say, Mrs. Sinnott, you bring the girls down to my shelter. And off we trot when the air raid siren went down the block to Mr. Collins, I think his name was. And he had bunks all around this side, and if you were scared, you got a sweetie. Of course, Pauline was scared all the time, so she got lots of sweeties. But it was fun really for a kid because we would go out and watch the planes fighting up above us. It would be the German plane and the English plane, Spitfire, and you'd see this shooting of the bullets. And what we didn't realize was the shrapnel was coming down. And the mothers had all run out and grab us in,
Yeah.
But we didn't realize the danger because it was exciting.
Uh-huh.
And but then we got sent away by the school we were sent away to be evacuated. And that wasn't very nice. Very nice. Paddy and I went, and Alwyn, the whole school went actually. And we all went on the train. Everybody's crying, leaving their mummies behind. And when we got there, these different people, we were put in these different houses to spend the war, you see. And Paddy and I went together to this house with, I think it was 4 other children. Yeah, there were 6 of us. And they gave us a little bit of baked beans on toast for dinner and sort of milky liquid. It was tea. It was mainly lukewarm with a bit of milk in it. And they had us in this one bedroom with one bed, and there were 6 of us in it, and with one blanket over us. And it was let me see, war started in September. It would have been December because we were there for Christmas in Loughborough. Anyway, and we were crying. We were cold and tired and missing our parents. And in the morning when we got up, they gave us a piece of toast and another little bit of this wheat tea stuff. And off we went to the school. Well, we stopped to pick up Raymond, a friend of mine, who was just down the road at a house. And we stopped to pick him up. And the lady who he had been put in with took one look at us and brought us into her house and gave us a proper breakfast.
Wow.
with poached eggs on toast, and never forgot it. And she was asking us questions, and we told her, we were crying, telling her how it had been for us the night before. So she took us to the school, and they didn't send us back to that lady. But what happened, we went to where Alwyn was, and the lady was a spiritualist. She was
Wow.
very sweet, and she was very kind to us. And she took us in with Alwyn, so the three of us were together. And she used to phone Mother, and she'd say, "Oh, Mrs. Sinnott, you don't need to worry about the girls. I saw their father watching over them last night." But she was very sweet to us. And we stayed with her for about 3 or 4 months. We were there for Christmas. She always used to say, "Now, don't you worry, girls. Your father is watching over you." We used to laugh, you know.
Yeah.
But she was a lovely lady.
Yeah.
And we just felt lucky to be there with her. The first time we'd been evacuated was right after the war started. We went to Ledbury, where Alwyn had been born. And that's where the gypsies were. And the lady we stayed with had been a church member of Daddy's. And they had a little kiosk on the main street where they sold cigarettes and newspapers and things. And every Thursday when the gypsies came to town, she'd grab me and put me under the counter, and she'd say, "Now don't you go out, because the gypsies will take you." Well, then Arwin and that from the kids at school heard about hop picking. So when the school was out for the summer, we went hop picking. Well, who were the hop pickers? The gypsies.
What is hop picking? What is that?
Picking hops for the beer.
Ah,
Hops you make beer from.
okay.
And anyway, we were picking hops, and you got paid for it, you see.
Oh,
And
very
it was great fun. And we had a lovely time, and the gypsies were lovely. They
yeah.
showed us their caravans, and, you know, they were nice people.
Yeah.
But people treated them badly
Yeah.
because, I mean, I think some of them did steal,
Hmm.
but they didn't bother. We hadn't got anything they wanted to steal, you know. And they were fun, and they were light-hearted people. They loved to dance and play music, and they always sang and were happy.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed them.
The first time you were evacuated, you went to Ledbury where Olwen was born. So was it an annual thing that you would get evacuated for a certain amount of time?
No, Mother would take us back in. We were only evacuated twice.
Okay.
We just went twice.
Okay.
And after the second time, when we were at the spiritualist, Mother decided to bring us home and have us at home. And then my girlfriend, whose father owned the local pub there, it's just kitty corner to where the stores were, they decided, their eldest son went in the army, and he decided to sell the pub and buy a country pub for safety. So off they went, and I lost my best friend. She went off to the country. And what happened was, when the German planes had been on a bombing mission, when they had to go leave and go back, if they hadn't dropped all their bombs, they would drop them on their way out. My girlfriend's pub got a direct hit, and they were all killed, the whole family. And the only one survived was the son, who was in the army. And I can remember we were all so upset. He'd moved them to the country to be safe. And their pub where we were never got a direct hit.
In Kidderminster.
Yeah.
Is that in Kidderminster or?
No, in Birmingham.
Oh, you could move to Birmingham at that point. Okay.
Yeah, we lived in Birmingham. Like, I grew up in Birmingham. After Daddy died in Bath, Mother moved back to Birmingham, and that's where I was raised.
Okay. So you
until
were
we came
born
to Canada.
so am I correct that you were born in Kidderminster and then moved to Bath
Yeah,
and then moved back to Birmingham?
and then we moved back to Birmingham.
And so is Kidderminster like a suburb of Birmingham?
No, it's a carpet manufacturing town. It's quite a busy town. it was where Oldfield Park, Dad's church was. Mother used me as her companion from when I was a little girl. She took me everywhere with her. And when it became time for me to spread my wings, she couldn't let me go. And she fought every way she could. I got a job in Bermuda at the Elba Beach Surf Club. And the night before I was to fly out, I was there, going there for a year, and I was so excited. I was 19 years old, and I was so thrilled. And she had a heart attack, supposedly. I had the doctor there, and he said, "You better cancel your trip, Pauline." As soon as I canceled, she was better. It took me years to forgive her for that. I was going with a girlfriend. My girlfriend got a job there in a different capacity. I was going as a bookkeeper. But it was heartbreaking for me. And I didn't really forgive her for many, many years, until probably when she was dying, because it was a cruel thing to do to me.
Mm-hmm.
When your father sent me to England on holiday, she announced that she was coming with me. And she spoiled my holiday in England that your dad had sent me on, because she insisted on coming with me, and I had to look after her and Auntie Dorothy. They were funny together, but it wasn't the holiday I'd look forward to.
Yeah.
Sheila, your cousin Sheila, tried very hard to get me a better time. She sent me away. And I went up to Wales to see my second cousin Lorna, and John, he was her brother. He took me up there in his Triumph Stag car, and we had a great weekend up there in Wales, and I met all Lorna's children and John's children, and it was fun. But Mother was a handful to deal with. She would tell stories to Alwyn that I had said such and such about Alwyn. I never said anything at all. But she'd tell Alwyn that I'd said these things. And then she'd tell me that Alwyn said things about me. For whatever reason, I don't know what her thinking was. I never have been able to figure that one out. But she tried to put us to butt heads. And I'd say to Alwyn, I didn't say that. I don't think you said what she says, no, I didn't. I said, we have to take it with a pinch of salt, what Mom says. I learned that over the years. But it was difficult.
Uh-huh.
It was hard because I was so used to doing what Mother told me.
Yeah.
And what Alwyn and Patty told me, because I was the youngest.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever learned to say no was after I'd been on that trip to England. And they said to me, oh, we'll be having Christmas at your place, Pauline. I said, no, you won't. And they couldn't believe I'd said no. And it was a shock to them.
Mm-hmm.